Hello, my crafty friends. Today I am sharing two slimline cards that were made for my Divinity Designs guest designer post. I had so much fun making these cards. So we're going to start with this one. Both cards are slimline cards. And let's just move this out of the way for a little bit. Slimlines are hard to get in frame here. This card started out with the slimline card base, which does require a larger die cutting machine. And so normally my slimline cards are 3.5 by 8.5. This one makes an almost 4 by 9 inch. I think it's like 3 7/8. And the Divinity Designs dies also come with an embossing feature. So I embossed the outside edge there. This Slimline Flower Petal Background die. Oh, I had so much fun with this and I have so many ideas. Actually, as soon as I saw it, the ideas started coming. I really like this. Now, if you follow me, you know I love to use acetate on my cards, and I especially like to use acetate behind background panels. I love the shine it gives, and if you use a transparency, I'm saying acetate, but for this type of a card, I use transparencies because they're easy to find, at least in Canada and the US, just at an office supply store. They're thin and they're light. A transparency would be too thin to use, say, for a clear card or for arms if you were trying to animate something, because it is lightweight and quite flimsy. But that means it also doesn't add a lot of bulk or weight to your cards. After I cut the Slimline Flower Petal Background from black cardstock, I turned it over and added double-sided tape just around the outside edge, just a narrow double-sided tape. And then I adhered a same size panel of the transparency to the back side. While it was still upside down, I cut another same size piece of vellum and adhered that over top of the transparency. So now my sandwich upside down, the bottom layer was the black flower petal background. The next layer was the transparency, and the next layer was the vellum. So all three layers attached together. And while it was still upside down, I grabbed my alcohol markers and just quickly colored in the petals just randomly. And I was very happy with the stained glass look. And then I had kind of a oops, which I salvaged okay, but just a heads up. The shimmer spray that I use is actually alcohol based. It's 70% rubbing alcohol and shimmer paint. So I sprayed the back thinking, what if? Well, the alcohol in the shimmer mist started bleeding the alcohol in the markers. So don't do that. unless you're going for that kind of blended bleeding look. It surprised me, but I left it to dry, and because the alcohol dries so quickly, it didn't end up making a huge mess of my card. So then I took that panel and adhered it flat down to the white card base. So I like the even border around, and I like the embossed edge that you get on the slimline card base. The Raspberries is the Divinity Designs stamp set. After stamping, I colored it with the same alcohol markers and then added some Wink of Stella and a few black sequins for additional sparkle. The whole thing was cut out with the Divinity Designs double stitch circles. Inside, I used some of the slimline rectangles, so they also give you a lovely embossed edge, and I just did one out of yellow and one out of white cardstock. These black petals here, of course, are the fall-away pieces. I couldn't throw them all away, so I added them to the corners, stamped another one of the raspberry images in the center here, and then one single sequin. So just a thinking of you card that I can send out for Happy Mail, and it fits in a number 10 business envelope for mailing. Move these out of the way here. And now this card, another one I had a lot of fun making. This uses the new release for March, the Slimline Z Fold Card with layers. I also added the big balloon, and this Z Fold card opens like this. And for something different, I added balloons on this side as well. Now I actually have a Divinity Designs order coming. I was really hoping it would be here with birthday sentiments, and I was going to stamp a sentiment here and possibly here or down here, and then this is where you would sign your name. However, that order is, I think, stuck at customs, which happens when you're ordering between the two countries. So patience is required, but even without the sentiments, I think it's such a fun card. So as I said, I used the Slimline Z Fold card with layers, and I used the geometric patterned paper, which is also by Divinity Designs, and it is Slimline card sized. And the layers you can see create a lovely embossed edge. It comes with the layering dies to do all 3 of these panels. But if you wanted to do a decorative panel here, or as I did on this yellow one here, you need to turn the die over. So here is the die for this lower panel. And as you can see, it cuts and embosses that layer perfectly. So you have even borders all the way around. I love that about layering dies. But if you go to do it on this side, the angle is wrong. When I'm doing this sandwich, I have the pattern paper face up on my cutting pad, and I lay the die down on top and run it through my machine, and that gives me this. So to do the opposite, I'm swapping out my sandwich and putting the die on the bottom, and in this case, the yellow cardstock on top. So my cutting plates, my die with the blade facing up, the yellow cardstock on top, and I run that through, and then that gives you the angles for that. And you would repeat that with the larger angled one if you wanted pattern paper here. So, I mean, it took me longer to explain what to do than it does to actually do it. It's very easy. So a fun way to use this Slimline Z Fold card die, I have other ideas for this. I added some additional black sequins. This is more of a masculine card, so I didn't want it too shimmery. A little bit of Wink of Stella for the highlights on the balloons. This happy birthday is from the vintage bird label stamp set. I stamped it on white cardstock that was die cut with the double stitched rounded rectangle dies. So I had this white panel with the rounded edges. Then I nested the same size double stitched rounded rectangle die with the smaller one, held them together with washi tape so they didn't move, and I ran it through the black mirror cardstock, which is from Tonic Studio. So that gave me a frame. And then this follow-away piece, because this is a double stitched die, the follow-away piece also has a lovely stitched edge around it, and I've put that aside to use on another project. So lots of wow on this card. They stand really nicely for display, and what a fun and cheerful card to send out for a birthday. If you enjoyed my cards today, please give my video a thumbs up and subscribe to see more. And that's it for me today.